Welcome in, everybody, to another week here on the Patterson Report podcast. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. And last week, somehow, both of us simply forgot. Nothing other than that. I can't speak for you, but both of us fully around just forgot. Uh, so
I
we're
was
going to
out,
do.
so it's my fault. It's my fault. I was out. I was out
All
and
right.
about. I was watching the Phillies game at my cousin's. We were talking, and it totally flew my mind. And the Phillies game ended at 9:30, and I text you. I'm like, oh, great.
So this is going to be the way too late Eagles draft recap. Obviously, draft happened end of April. We're a couple weeks removed from that now. But a few more dominoes still had to fall. So it's not a complete waste doing it this late in the game. Obviously, the biggest one for the Eagles this offseason, as far as the will they, won't they, was going to be Dallas Goedert. I think most fans expected him to get traded on draft day.
You and me both.
And based on a report I was reading today from, I believe, Jeff McLean, I'll look back and see. It's either him or John Clark. But it appears as though the Eagles were aggressively shopping Goedert at the draft on the draft. But it seems as though Goedert got wind of, but some of the returns they were getting, or some of the struggles they were having in moving him, and he elected to just take the pay cut and stay with the Eagles rather than get shipped off to wherever we were able to find a home for him. Because the deal, from what I gathered, Howie Roseman is a great GM. He's very loyal to his guys, but he's also stopped being sentimental, which I think is great. So that tells me that the deals that they were getting for Dallas Goedert weren't going to help the Eagles franchise in 2025, 26 more than the production that they were going to get from a 1 year of Goedert. They're probably here in 5th and 6th round offers, which at that point you're better off just keeping the guy.
Yeah, especially when you're competing for a Super Bowl and the time for a backup plan. I know they kind of prep for it with Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant, who are decent, but they're no Dallas Goedert. And so I'm good with just paying the contract. I mean, it all worked out in the end for everybody. I heard he was, at the Combine Denver talks. They went out and got Evan Ingram, reunite with Steichen. They got Tyler Warren in the draft. So it worked out for everybody in the end. And now Dallas Goedert's going to be back competing for a Super Bowl in 2025. And I think that was the best case scenario. And it's basically like Josh Sweat 2.0. Rework deal probably on the way, and probably not going to be with the team in 2026. So,
yeah, it's kind of a 1 year prove it deal for a guy who's already been with you. Most of the reports are showing that initially he had $14 million cash on the books for this upcoming season, which was going to be steep for a tight end. I mean, Dallas Goedert's as good as they come when he's healthy, but he's healthy so rarely. So what I'm hearing is it's going to be a 10 plus 1 in incentives rather than the full 14. So he's in essence taking a $3 million pay cut to stick around, very similar to what Sweaty did.
Yep, and it's going to work out best for everyone in the end. He'll get paid next offseason by some team because he's easily a top 8, top 10 tight end in the game. He'll get his money. And the Eagles will be looking for a backup plan because they devoted their cap dollars elsewhere.
So. Yeah, but it's a position. I mean, look, we're talking about how Dallas Scott's going to get his money, and I think he will because he's better than the average. It is another one of those positions where you don't necessarily need to commit capital to the tight end position. It's a luxury. It's nice to have on an offense that already has Saquon, AJ, Devontae. I think at that point, Jahan Dotson will be gone too. But all this to say, there's plenty of weapons. The tight end is a nice to have, not a need to have.
Yeah, it's nice, but at the same time, he's familiar with the guys. You don't want to put someone like Grant Galacatera in there when you're competing for a Super Bowl. He was nice as a backup, serviceable, but I don't know if he was ready to take the full-time starter jump yet. So I'm glad they got a deal done. but at the same time, we'll probably see how he use some draft picks either in a trade or actually taking a tight end next offseason. I don't know. I haven't gotten into summer scouting yet for 2026, so
No,
that's
we'll get into
that's
that.
later. I'll start giving you some names later on in the process that you could be looking forward to, and maybe checking out while the college football season starts. But there's going to be a new tight end in the roster in 26. That's
yes,
a guarantee.
And then getting to the draft itself. The first round, I've been watching. I don't know if you've seen it. The Eagles are really good about this. They put out these almost like TV episodes. They're 27 to 30 minutes apiece behind the scenes. And watching the draft day one, it was good. It was interesting for me to watch as a fan because look, Howie he always gets his way. And we've kind of always joked about, don't pick up the phone when, the 215 area code calls. And, it was kind of funny. But this year, it really did seem when you watch those episodes that, people weren't taking Howie's calls. We were trying to move up to get the guy we ended up getting at 32, which was awesome. But it was at least a little bit concerning because one of Howie's greatest strengths is the way he maneuvers and manipulates the draft. And if teams are going to put up a stone wall and not, interact with us on draft deals, that is kind of a bummer. But like I said, you can't stop him. He wanted to move up and get Jihaad Campbell. He landed with us anyway.
Yeah. I don't think it's a stone wall because you could look at proof later in the draft. There's no way Howie's going to be offering massive capital to go up and get a linebacker.
Yeah.
And Atlanta came in, swooped in with a future first. There's no way Howie was offering that. So I don't think they were necessarily stonewalling him. Maybe after that point they were a little bit. But then it got in that row of like the Ravens, Bills, who don't really gain from moving back. They gain more from sticking and picking their guys.
Yeah.
But there was no way a future first was on the table to move up. Maybe it might have been semi-similar to the Giants package, what they did to move up for Jackson Dart. Maybe it could have been something like that, maybe a little less. So I don't think they're necessarily blocking Howie out. I just think it was circumstances, and it was a coincidence that just turned out that other teams were offering more, and, rightly so. The Falcons jumped up 20, 30 spots, and they settled their pass rush need with two guys in the first round. Then, like I said, Howie was never going to offer a first round pick. Come on now. That's not how you roll.
I agree. And we're already a third of the way through because I want to make sure that we get to all the picks. But there's one part I'm curious about with the Jihaad Campbell pick. And it's, I never want Howie to revert back to his old ways because he drafts best on the board, and I love that about him. It does create a little bit of an interesting conundrum at linebacker because Jihaad Campbell is best as an off-ball linebacker. He has played the edge. That's not where he's at most explosive. His sideline-to-sideline speed is absolutely ridiculous. So you want him playing off-ball backer. You're also coming after a year where obviously Zach Bond's entrenched. And we both sang Nakobe Dean's praises all season long that he turned into an absolute monster. So it does leave a little bit of a question of where do you deploy Jihaad Campbell?
I'll get to that, but I trust Vic Fangio to use this man. His system hinges so heavily on linebacker. We saw that with Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean. It kind of made everything work. And now you're adding an athletic freak like Jihaad Campbell into the mix. It's basically perfect. Like, Jihaad Campbell's upside, and it's funny, the comparisons during the draft were Zach Bond, which is kind of funny that he landed on the Eagles because it's kind of the same scenario. But Nakobe Dean is coming off an injury. We don't know how serious that injury is. We never really got confirmation of what his timeline is going to be or anything. He said he's going to be back real soon, but you just never know with these kind of things. And you don't know if he's going to be the same caliber player as he recovers from injury. Now, Jahad Campbell has those concerns as well. There's medical red flags. That's why he dropped to 31. He was a top 15 player pretty easily, but the medicals didn't clear for a couple teams with the shoulder and I believe the knee. So it's going to be a little risky with Jahad Campbell, playing out his career in Philadelphia here because he might be injured a couple of times if those, medicals pop up. But that's why having 3 linebackers is going to be key because you could rotate those guys and it's just going to be keep them fresh. And big advantage, just going to absolutely use Jahad Campbell as a chess piece, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thought is, they've started, the NFL started adopting kind of that like safety rover position. Not that he would necessarily play that, but I think like I said, he might be in his first year. He might be kind of a gadget player on defense, which when he's in the game, I think he can still wreck games that way. But it is a little bit dicey because if Nakobe Dean comes back, and a torn patellar tendon is nothing to take lightly. But if he comes back as the guy that he was last year, I mean that's his linebacking position to lose. Jahad Campbell is the new shiny toy, and we're all super excited to have him. But I mean, Nakobe Dean was an animal last year.
Yeah, but you spend first round capital. I think it'll be a little bit of a battle. I think they'll split snaps. I think they don't want to rush Nakobe Dean back, and they don't have to now with Campbell in the mix. So I think it's best for everyone that Jahad Campbell joins the group. And I mean, this defense was tops in the league last year and it only got stronger through the draft. And, of course, they lost a couple pieces in free agency, but we'll address some of those replacements later. And who knows, Jahad Campbell might mix in an edge a little bit to replace some of Josh Sweat, what he's going to leave. So,
yeah,
because we do have to talk about the Bryce Huff deal because I think Howie might try to get out of that before the season starts. So,
yeah, I think he's going to try and cut bait. But we did get a lot stronger on defense. Obviously, Jahad Campbell was the crown jewel, the top pick, the whole 9 yards. Another one though that I think you and I have talked about where they could have gone safety first round. Obviously, Jahad Campbell was there, so you throw the board out and you go get him. Like we said, I mean, save for the injury history, he was a top 10 player on a lot of boards, top 15 on all of them. But I still think, Andrew Mukuba, where we got him, is still a great pick. The Texas secondary last year was well known across all college football as probably one of the scariest secondaries to throw against. You lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Reed Blankenship is anchor on that other side, but you didn't really have an in-house option you felt great about. I feel pretty good about Mukuba making a difference this year.
Yeah, as long as he bulks up. I know he's a little short, and if he probably was taller, he probably would have gone a lot higher.
Yeah, he's 6 foot 185. So for a safety, he's pretty light.
Yeah, so if he was, a little bigger, he probably would have went early day 2, if I were to guess. I don't know if he would have snuck in a day 1. Safeties don't typically do that. Malachi Starks almost made it to the Eagles pick, which Howie would have had a decision, but I think he would have went Jahad Campbell with what I'm hearing over Malachi Starks if he had the choice. Especially since he was especially with what he was saying, he was trying to trade up for Jahad Campbell before Malachi Starks got picked. So kind of put that one to bed a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mukuba is going to be an absolute dog in the secondary. I mean, I saw people comping him to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. It's just kind of funny how this happens. Like they were comping him pre-draft to him, and they were comping Jahad Campbell to Zach Bond. I just found it funny that they both landed up as Eagles. So
yeah, I mean, I don't see I don't watch as much tape. I don't see as much of CJ in his game, at least not at Texas. One of the great things, CJ Gardner-Johnson did a lot of things well. One of them that he could hit. Like he was a little bit bulkier. He was a presence up around the line a little bit more than Mukuba is, at least right now.
Yeah, I agree. But once Mukuba puts on some weight, hey, I mean, it could very well happen.
Yeah, if he bulks up another, 10 pounds, right around 200, I mean, that would make a big difference.
We'll see about the whole Justin Simmons thing as well, because he basically just came out and said what we already knew. said, I want to play in Philly. You could sit Makuba for a while, let him bulk up in the strength and conditioning program, get him up to speed while Simmons starts for a little bit. That could possibly work. And then you could bring in Makuba when he's, about 15, 20 pounds heavier. I think that could work as well. I'm okay with starting Makuba from the rip. It's whatever Vic Fangio decides, okay? I feel like we're at that point. We're at that point.
Much like a lot like Coop, he's multi-position. So if a world does appear where Coop moves outside, which I know you and I are both staunchly against because he's a star inside, but there is talk of if they end up forcing him outside, that does open up the nickel for Makuba, he's played nickel before in Texas.
Yeah, we've been over this. I don't think you do that. The nickel's too important. We just saw Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron's going to be the nickel corner for Denver. He went top 20. So,
yeah.
Nickel's more important than ever in this NFL with all the 3 wide receiver sets. So I think you got to keep Coop in there. And I know it's going to be tough when teams try to go heavy and run the ball and only have 2 wide receivers out there, but Coop's good enough at tackling. You got to keep him in there and you just got to let him roam around, kind of play that chess piece role in the secondary. He could play anywhere if you want him to. So, and you have Quinion locking down the boundary. So I think I think we're fine. I think Ringo's going to win that outside job. I think we both believe that. I think it's his to lose at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep Coop inside because
just then you got round 4. I think, look, round 1 was a home run pick. That was easy. He's there. You got to do it. I also think Makuba was a little bit drafting on need. He's also, he's a freak athlete. I love that we got him. That was kind of a need pick, how we needed to address safety early on. Rounds 4 and 5, I personally was in love with. So I want to do those 2 together. Ty Robinson out of Nebraska is an absolute lunatic in the best way possible. Putting him and Jalen Carter together with probably a Milton Williams-esque season coming up from Ajomo, I think he's going to make a similar leap that Milton Williams did. That interior of that Eagles D-line is going to be absolutely terrifying. And I'm not even mentioning Jordan Davis, who is credited with being a great run stopper, and he absolutely is one of the best at doing it. He started to show a little bit of a pass rush towards the end of last season. So when you look at the 4 guys the Eagles have in the interior, Jalen Carter, second coming of Aaron Donald, he said as much, stud. Jomo came on huge last year. He's going to have a big season. Jordan Davis, one of the best run stuffers in football, just by sheer size. And then, this guy, Ty Robinson, from all of the film, all of his coaches, his head coach, his position coach, his scouts, this dude just wants to maul people.
Yeah. The tired take is let him play D tackle. The wired take is bring back fullback and put him there. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you saw that tweet. It was Devin Caney. She tweeted out that he played fullback 8 snaps in Nebraska, scored on 7 of them.
Yeah,
that's an absolute unit I want on this football team.
I'm with it.
But his pass rush win rate was insane. It was 18% or something like that. It was one of the highest in the class. His speed score, he ran the 40. I think it was the fastest as well. He's just an athletic freak. And, this is what Howie does. He takes
4.83 on the 40.
Yep. He takes athletic freaks at positions of need, and they pan out because the coaching's just so good, and the coaching molds them. And, we saw Milton Williams. He was a day 2 pick, granted, even though, Howie didn't fist bump Jeff Loria on that one. That was making rounds. I don't know if you saw that. That was a good one, but
he was right though.
He was definitely right. So I just love these kind of picks, and we're gonna get to more picks later. But I love Ty Robinson. He's gonna fit in great, and he's just exactly what they kind of needed. He is the Milton Williams replacement.
Yeah.
And he's going to fill those shoes eventually. Not right away, but eventually. I just love the player, love the pick.
Yeah, I think it was there's a perfect combo of it's a position of need, but like you said, like it's not reaching for a player of need. He took somebody that Vic Fangio can mold into whatever he needs him to be. The athleticism is there, the speed is there. I mean, you look, I haven't seen a Jomo pursue all that often, but I mean, Jalen Carter is quick and really athletic for a big guy. We just went over how Robinson ran the fastest 40 at the combine for his position group at 4.83. I forget who he was chasing down, but there was that great video of, it wasn't this season, it was last, of Jordan Davis at full speed running down a position player at the mammoth size that he is. So not only do you have three absolute units on the inside, they're athletic freaks who can chase down a back trying to bounce it outside. So the Eagles' D tackle room is even after losing a guy like Milton Williams, who will undoubtedly be missed, is as strong as it's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, Howie just does a great job at keeping these strengths of strength. Like, he walks out the door, you still have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, obviously, but last year with Ajomo, or no, it was 2 years ago, my bad. Last year was Jalen Hunt in the D-line. Ajomo 2 years ago, you have Ty Robinson this year. I mean, he just continues to keep the good positions good. And he addresses the bad ones. So,
yeah,
I mean,
a bad position that he addressed in a big way this year and has continued to address in this draft. I actually really liked the round 5 pick of Mac McWilliams out of Central Florida. I think he looked at the cornerback room and realized how top-heavy we were. You have two absolute stars in Q and Cooper DeJean. A lot of people are ready to anoint Kelee Ringo to be the guy. I hope he is. There's not a whole lot of game film that shows that's going to be the case. I'm sure they've seen something in practice that gives them a lot of hope. But as far as on Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays, not a whole lot of proof in the pudding quite yet. You went out and got some vets to challenge the room, but they're not really your answer. So I do like that he addressed the position here. He's a little bit more raw. Like, he's not probably a year one contributor. But I mean, Mac McWilliams is a guy who I think might only need 1 year behind the guys before, if he's asked to step up, he probably would be able to. Now,
I think
the tricky thing is he's also a slot guy, which does.
I was just pulling up the numbers. That's what I'm doing over here right now. I wanted to get them right.
Yeah, so the slot thing does throw a monkey wrench in you and I's plan of keeping Coop inside forever.
I mean, he profiles better as a slot corner, but in college, he played a lot of outside. I just wanted to make sure I got the snaps correct because it was 428 snaps outside and then 57 on the inside for last year. So he played boundary at UCF, but like we said, he profiles best as a slot corner at the next level. But
yeah, he played his senior season in the slot.
I think he played his junior season in the slot, if I'm not mistaken.
No, yeah, I mean, at least according to ESPN. Oh, sorry. No, the way they worded this was confusing.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, because they were talking about inside outside, and they're talking about DeJean making the move outside, not Williams.
Yeah, I mean, he played a fair amount of slot in 2023. I knew it was one of the years. I just wanted to make sure I got it right. But he's got good ball skills. I mean, you risk it and put DeJean outside. We said we don't want to do that, but everything on the roster points to Ringo outside or Coop on the outside.
Yeah. And look, keep Coop inside. I know it's not the sexiest DB position. It's typically, on a lot of teams, it's typically your weakest. He's so good in there. Just leave him alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you shouldn't mess up a good thing.
Yeah, and especially when now we're starting to have options. Hopefully Ringo's the guy outside. If he's not, now you kind of hedged your bets a little bit with McWilliams.
Yeah, but he's a fifth-round corner. I mean,
I want to get through one more pick if we can squeeze it in.
Mhm.
But I want to get your opinion on which one you want to talk about, because I think there's probably two that are really worth it. Round 5, how he went back to Georgia, another linebacker, Smail Monin Jr. Interesting pickup. Probably going to be a special teamer. Not super keen on talking about him with our last 5 minutes. There's a QB factory, Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, that I think could be a fun one. And then the one that myself and a lot of people loved was Cameron Williams out of Texas that late in the game.
Yeah, I think we could quick touch on. I think we could squeeze 2 in. We could just say that Kyle McCord's, senior season was spectacular. He took a jump, and if someone comes asking for Tanner McKee, I think Kyle McCord could fill that backup role that Tanner McKee filled. And it's just a churning cycle behind Jalen Hurts, and I think there's not much more than that. But I like the value.
Yeah, it's a round 6 pick. He's a local guy. I'm a big believer in when you're drafting your backup quarterbacks who are going to be career backups. I want a guy that played a long time in college. I don't want a guy with maybe 1 full season under his belt, or maybe 1.5, or what. You draft for potential when it's your starter. You draft based on keys and what you can turn him into. If I'm bringing a guy in to be my 3rd quarterback, which is going to be Kyle McCord's job, I want a guy that's seen a ton of football, because his value to us this year is going to be in the QB room. It's hopefully, God willing, not going to be on Sundays. So you want a guy who can kind of, see things for Jalen, chat out, between he and Tanner McKee, scan the field, and he was one of the headier quarterbacks available this year, just because of what his career's entailed. I mean, what happened at Ohio State, where he was supposed to be the savior, didn't ever quite reach that pinnacle, goes to Syracuse, kind of humbles himself a little bit, going to a smaller program, turns Syracuse into what they were this year. So I think he's going to be a great locker room guy in Philly. And he's got enough. Don't get me wrong, he's not a scrub. Dude's got plenty of talent. He's got a cannon of an arm. So he'll contribute to the QB room, but I'm just hoping he's not on Sunday, Thursday, or Monday.
I totally agree with you there. Hopefully not. We want Jalen for all 17 games, but I do want to address Cameron Williams real quick. Do you remember when he was in first round of mock drafts? I remember vividly before the season placing him in like the top 20, 25, because he has the ideal size for a tackle. It's just that the traits aren't kind of there, and he kind of had a rough season a little bit, but he's still moldable. And to go to Stoutland University, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
There's no better place.
I think Jordan Mailata is always going to be Stout's greatest accomplishment because of the lack of football skills coming in. However, if you're a guy like Cameron Williams, who has the physical traits, who had the potential, and just never realized it at Texas, I mean, going to Stoutland you're going to come out of it a different player than you came in. And he could be one of Stout's better reclamation projects, where I think they're bringing him in as a depth piece to kind of fill out the offensive line. But I think he has as high of a ceiling as you can have for a 6th round offensive lineman.
I totally agree with you. I mean, 6'5", 335. Come on now.
It's there. He can teach him how to play a position.
Exactly. Can't teach the size, or it's. The one rough thing is I wish he didn't come out as, I'm not going to get greedy here because it's a great value pick, but he shouldn't have come out of college this year. He should have stayed another year and maybe developed into a day 2, maybe even day 1 tackle that he was pegged to be. And he was advised to come out, and it just, that's the part of the game that really stinks when you think about it. But I think Stoutland's going to mold him into something great.
I think you're right. I mean, look, it doesn't. Obviously, this year the draft didn't go the way he wanted it to go. Like you said, he had first round projections, not recently, but onset of the season. I mean, he could have been day 1, more likely day 2. Season didn't go that way. He was advised to come out. You never know, though. Next year, he could have gone to a team with desperate O-line needs. And maybe an O-line coach that's not good at developing guys. It sucks to get drafted in the 6th round, not have a roster spot. The money sucks. I get that. but you went to the best possible place to cash in on your next deal.
Oh yeah, 200%. I mean, he's only 21 years old. He's not going to turn 22 till the season starts. Like, Stoutland gets an offseason with them, gets a couple offseasons with them. I mean, I don't think it's likely, but he could very well be the Lane successor, and then we could pay him down the road. And Howie likes to treat his guys well, and if Cameron Williams develops into something worth keeping on the football team, how he's going to do it and how he's going to make sure he's well compensated. So
yeah, so he had to take I'm hoping for his sake that he had to take a pay cut early, but he'll make it back over time because Jeff Stoutland, he has the body, he has the athleticism. All he needs to do is, one, stay healthy and tighten up his game a little bit, and he went to the best guy in the world to do that for him. So I think by the time he's 24, 25, the story's going to be a lot different than it is right now.
yeah, I mean, you saw that. How is Howie getting away with it tweets when Cameron Williams got drafted? I saw the pick, was ecstatic. I mean, what more could you ask for?
It's a great value pick, and they have the guy in the building to turn him into the first rounder he was supposed to be. So
I mean, we didn't even mention he's going to learn behind Lane and Mailata too. They're going to be willing to teach him. Like, it's not like he's going to a room that where he's battling for snaps. Lane's going to teach him all the ins and outs of right tackle, and I think it's going to work out so well for him.
Yeah, it's the best spot. But those are probably, I would say, the 6 picks that we need to talk about. We got them all in, and now we'll let the offseason play out a little bit more. We'll see if there's any late moves to be made, or who's going to win some training camp battles. But we have a much clearer picture on who the Eagles are now than we did about a month ago. And given the quiet offseason we had, which we knew we were going to have, I feel better about I think this was the draft that we needed to have. It wasn't Howie's splashiest, sexiest draft. He set the bar pretty high on those. But, I mean, great value in the first with Jahad Campbell, draft for need in the second with Makuba, and then a late round steal that could turn out to be a star. That's everything you want.
It's exactly everything you want. And like you said, it wasn't the splashy draft, but Howie is set up next year with all those picks to have the splashiest draft he wants. So I'm looking forward to that already. Hopefully it's, after another Super Bowl. But we have to talk about next week. We're going to have to talk some Sixers next week because the draft lottery is this upcoming week, and hopefully it works out. And hopefully Cooper Flagg is a 76er. I don't think it's going to happen, but
yes. Well, next week will be a Sixers-focused episode, so make sure you don't miss that one. But for this week, the week that we're in now, I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. This is a Passing Report. We'll see you next week.